Performance is about 10% of what gets you promoted. Image is about 30. Exposure is the other 60. And most people spend an entire career perfecting the 10% and wondering why nothing happens. That's the pie model. Performance, image, exposure. And whether or not you treat those percentages like a literal formula, the underlying point is incredibly useful. Doing great work is only one part of building a great career. If the right people don't understand your value, if they don't know what you've accomplished, or if the reputation attached to your name doesn't match the role you want next, working harder usually doesn't solve the problem. So let's break down all three, plainly. Performance is the quality and consistency of the work you deliver. Image is what people believe about you professionally, and especially when you're not there to explain yourself. Exposure is who knows you, who knows your work, and who has enough context to advocate for you. Performance, image, exposure. Three different things. And most career frustration comes from treating them like they're the same thing. Let's start with performance, because this is where most ambitious people feel safest. You work hard, you hit all your deadlines, you solve your problems, you know your craft. People trust you to get things done. All of that matters. In fact, without performance, none of the rest of this works for very long. But performance is simply the price of admission. It gets you into the conversation. It does not automatically determine what happens once you're there. Think about the person on your team who gets every difficult assignment. Whenever something is broken, everybody sends it to them. Whenever there's a deadline slipping, they save it. Whenever someone needs an answer, they have it. That person may be extremely valuable, but value and advancement are not always the same thing. Sometimes they become so good at being the person who fixes everything that the organization says, hey, keep them exactly where they are. They're indispensable in that current role. But nobody has formed a clear picture of them in the next one. And what do high performers usually do when they feel overlooked? They perform harder. They take another project. They work another weekend. They become even more reliable, which can make them more valuable without making them more promotable. That's the trap. Excellent performance is necessary. It's just not sufficient. The second piece is image. And when people hear the word image, they sometimes assume we're talking about clothes and personal branding and acting polished or pretending to be something we're not. That's not what I mean. Your image is how people describe you when you're not in the room. That's it. Imagine your name comes up in a leadership meeting tomorrow. You won't be in there. Somebody says, well, what do you think of her? Or what do you think of him? Would he be ready for this? Will she ready for the next thing? What gets said next, that's your image. She's incredibly dependable. He's great technically. She always sees the risk before anyone else does. Oh, he's smart, but I'm not sure he's ready to lead people. She gets things done, but she can be difficult to work with. Well, he's basically already operating at the next level. Those sentences matter because careers are in rooms that we're not in. Promotion discussions, succession planning, staffing conversations, new initiatives, hiring conversations, compensation decisions, and your reputation walks into those rooms before you ever will. Here's where this gets uncomfortable. Your image is not necessarily what you believe you're known for. It's what other people have concluded from repeatedly interacting with you. And sometimes there's the gap. You think, I'm strategic. They think, great executor. You think, I'm leadership material. They think, excellent individual contributor. You think, I'm calm under pressure. They think, quiet. That doesn't mean that their interpretation is fair, but it does mean it exists. And if the image attached to you supports your current role, but not your next role, that becomes a ceiling. Then we get to the biggest slice, exposure. And exposure is not networking in the cheesy sense of collecting LinkedIn connections or trying to become friends with executives. Exposure is simpler than that. Who knows your work, at what level, And can they speak intelligently about the value that you create? Because someone cannot advocate for work they've never seen. Your manager might know you're excellent. Your immediate team might know you're excellent. But if every important decision about your future eventually travels beyond those people, your reputation has to travel too. Let me give you a common example. Two people do comparable work. Both perform well. Both are capable of the next role. Person A finishes the project, sends the update to their manager, and moves on. Person B finishes the project and makes sure the outcome is understood. They present the result in the cross-functional review. They explain the business impact. A senior leader asks them a question, they answer it well. Their name becomes attached to that solution. 6 months later, an opportunity opens. Who feels familiar? Person B? Not necessarily because they're better, but because more people have enough evidence to believe they're ready. That distinction matters. Exposure is not about becoming famous inside your company. It's about making sure your contribution is visible to the people whose decisions affect your career. You can have outstanding performance with almost no exposure. And when that happens, you often hear some version of, "I had no idea you were doing all of that." That sentence should terrify you, because if people are surprised by your contribution has been underexposed. So here's the question I want you to answer. Which slice is weakest for you? Performance, image, or exposure? Most people know almost immediately. Maybe performance genuinely is an issue. Your results are inconsistent. You need stronger skills. You need to become more reliable before worrying about anything else. Fine, fix that first. But a lot of people watching this already perform well. So maybe it's image. You're respected, but the reputation you've built is attached to the wrong thing. You're known as the helper instead of a leader, the technician instead of the strategist, the pair of hands that are safe instead of the person who can own something bigger. Or maybe it's exposure. Your work is strong. Your reputation among people who know you is strong. The problem is simply that not enough of the right people know you. You've been hoping your results will somehow travel through the organization on their own. They usually don't. So don't ask, am I working hard enough? Ask, which part of my pie, P-I-E, is limiting me? Because the answer determines what you should do next. Now, here's an action for each slice. If performance is your weakest slice, do this. Ask your manager one question. What's the single biggest gap between my performance today and the performance you would expect at the next level? Not 10 gaps, not vague feedback, just one. Then work on that one deliberately. If image is your weakest slice, ask 3 people you trust. When you think of me professionally, what are the first 3 words that come to mind? Do not explain yourself. Do not tell them what you hope they would say. Just listen. You're looking for a pattern because that pattern is probably your current professional image. Then ask yourself whether those words match the kind of work and responsibility you want next. And if exposure is your weakest slice, pick one piece of meaningful work you're already doing and ask who should understand the outcome of this and who currently doesn't. Then create an appropriate way for them to see it. Maybe you present the findings. Maybe you own the project update. Maybe you send the executive summary. Maybe your manager gives you the floor instead of reporting your work for you. You don't need to brag. You need to stop disappearing. There is a difference. The pie model is useful because it explains something that otherwise feels deeply confusing. You can be doing everything you were taught to do, be responsible, work hard, deliver, help the team, and still watch other people move faster. That doesn't automatically mean the system is fair. It doesn't automatically mean the other person deserved it more. And it definitely doesn't mean performance doesn't matter. It means careers are evaluated through more than output. People make decisions based on what you've done, what they believe about you, and how much evidence they've personally seen from you. Performance, image, and exposure. So if your career feels stuck, don't immediately respond by adding another 10 hours of work to your week. Diagnose the slice. because you don't fix this by working more. You fix this by working on the slice that you've been ignoring. If you want to go deeper, I've linked the book below. It walks you through the larger career system around these decisions and how to navigate it much more intentionally. And if you want to see where your career might be getting stuck, use the Career Journey Simulator link below and walk through your situation and pressure test what your next move should be. Your next level may not require more effort. It may just require a different kind of focus. Hit subscribe for more tips.